What's up, Internet world? Matthew here for another amazing interview with the insightful and inspiring. And today I'm with the lovely Marissa LaRocca. Say hello.
Yes, hi everybody.
All right, she's got her own vlog on her own channel. I'm gonna drop a link down below. I want to get that one right away out of the way. What was it called again? Is it just your name? What your channel's called?
It's called Get Real with Marissa.
Okay, all right, there you go. I should have done a little bit more research before I started, I guess. All right, so Marissa, you have a very interesting mind and a very interesting perspective on life.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and an incredible story. And I want to just jump right into your story. So first things first, the central part, and we were talking about what's mainly affected your life and has led you on the journey that you're in.
Sure. So for a long time when I was younger, I guess mainly around age 19 is when I think it all started. I was just feeling very socially awkward, overwhelmed. I came from, in one of my videos, I used the word repressed upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably better to say sheltered.
Mm-hmm.
I just was very close with my family. And so that was part of what began an eating disorder that I had in my younger life. But this really wasn't an eating disorder about food. It was very much about identity and finding myself and sexuality, and I had a lot of shit to just figure out.
Okay.
So basically I started, our minds all go to different places. So some people will be cutters, some people will get into alcohol, some people will get into drugs, some people will just be horrible people in their relationships, as we've all experienced. But really I think it's the point at which we decide to face ourselves and that journey begins, that we start figuring out that we don't need to marry ourselves to these titles of anorexia or bulimia or alcoholism or I'm a cutter. These are not things that we actually are. They're just things that we're suffering with because our body's trying to tell us something.
Okay.
So my eating disorder, finally admitting that I had one, taught me to just start looking inward.
Okay.
And when I did, I realized I was suffering with identity issues more than anything.
Okay, so what identity issues specifically came to light?
Sure. So sexuality was just a very big one because I got to college. I was very into philosophy. So in all of my classes, it was this wide open thinking. And I had always been, I was in Catholic school a lot of my life. And so I was always told what to think.
Right.
And now I was told to just open my mind to every
think of everything.
Yeah, and I had recently discovered that I liked women a little bit before college, so now I was challenging that, and a couple guys approached me in my first year in college and wanted to change my mind about that, and I wanted to let them, but then I ended up being in a very dark place where I didn't know myself and I wasn't, so that was a big part of it. Also just socializing, also in college that came out because I had always been told where to sit and when to raise my hand and when to speak throughout my life. And then beginning in high school when I transitioned from Catholic school to public school, that was at first hard in high school because I had to finally, there were less rules, so I had to just be somebody. And then in college, it was even more so. I had to be somebody, and I didn't know who I was. So sexuality and social anxiety, I started to get really hard on myself for both of those things, not being able to be attracted to men, and then also not being able to just socialize the way other people did, and not enjoying socializing, not enjoying going to parties, struggling with the fact that I was such an introvert, and even more, we were talking about this earlier, just how you can even become more of, not that introversion is a psychosis, but you can become more of something when you don't know yourself. So I was even pushed more into...
Right. Spiral down,
I was more
basically
uncomfortable around people because I didn't know myself. And that wasn't just because I was an introvert, which I am. It was also because I was struggling and didn't know myself. So
I find everything you said amazingly fascinating because it opens a lot of different doors that we can actually not just take this conversation, but for other people to take their own thoughts. And that's really why we're here, is talking about the different perspectives we all have in our lives. I find immediately two things, what you said stands out, that you suppress yourself, you end up going to these dark places. I think with a lot of people, I know for myself as an alcoholic, it was a lot of not dealing with the things I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And with all addictions, whether it's an eating disorder, as you said, cutting, sexual addictions, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, we're avoiding something, and something will manifest. So those issues are really just the manifestations of a deeper symptom. And the other thing you just said is not being able to socialize and not being able to be attracted to men. You kind of said it like in the same context that like having a conversation and having sex with a man is kind of like some sort of thing that you're supposed to do.
Right.
And now you had to take that
yeah.
apart for yourself. So, I mean, kudos to you for coming through all of that. But for our audience's sake, could we talk a little bit more about that journey that's brought you to this more together, self-assured person that you are?
Oh, I love that you brought that up because that is such a big part of it. It's like society just creates these containers, and it's like, okay, if you're not that, there's no alternative. We don't know where else to go. And there's certain things that we don't question. Like everybody walks on the ground, nobody walks in the sky. So you would never say like that's not correct. But when you find yourself like a female being attracted to women, or you find yourself just having these like desires or urges that are not typical, you think that there's something wrong with you. Like that's the only place that you can go because there's just no alternative. So I think like that's what motivated me into starting my own YouTube channel and writing a book, is just because I want people, young people who are going through that, also to know that you have to find those alternatives or create them, because it's so scary to be that young and to not have anywhere to go and to only attack yourself because there's nothing else that you can do with that.
That's very important, what you said, attack yourself. I find that that's what a lot of people end up doing. There's a psychologist, Dr. Marissa Peer. She talks a lot about with her work, is that a lot of times people don't feel like they're enough. And that there's always something that we get into this cycle of self-deprecation that becomes like breathing. Like we're used to saying negative things about ourselves, so that when people talk about positive affirmations, it becomes this airy-fairy hippie thing, that you're supposed to read in a book this big, that's an impulse buy, not really supposed to have any value. But what I value about you is that you are bringing that value to the market. Not just in your YouTube channel, but also in a book, you said, huh?
Yeah, so the book came first.
The book came first.
Yeah, the book came first. And I remember sitting down in college, so I had just gone through all of this, and I finally had one experience that I was like, okay, things are going to change. And that one experience was that I was in my dorm room. I was binging and purging at the time, and my girlfriend at the time said, if you ever feel like doing that again, you need to call me. You can't do that anymore, or I won't be with you.
That's an ultimatum.
Yeah, but it helped. So it was a hot day. I had this like pint of soy ice cream, which wasn't even that unhealthy, and I ate like a little bit of it, and then I was like, I could put it back now, I could stop, but I didn't, and I ate the whole thing. And I just wanted to throw up to get that clean, pure feeling that I was after. And instead of throwing up, I called my girlfriend at the time, and she was about to go into her class, but she like spoke to me on the phone and just talked me through it and calmed me down. And I said like, okay, I'm actually going to do this. I'm actually going to not throw up. Okay, what do I do with myself? So I like paced back and forth, and I just felt like, I was like, this anxiety is what the problem is. I need to find another way how to deal with it. So I just lay down on the ground just to keep myself from going to the bathroom, and I just made myself be present in my body, and just I talk about that in my book too, like how so much washed over me in that moment. I just felt like this heaviness and everything, and I was like, I'm just gonna let it happen. I'm just gonna let that stuff happen. It was extremely uncomfortable, but I just like sat with it, and I was like, this is what people mean when they say being present with your body. It's like just this total self-acceptance, which I was able to do in that moment, despite the state that I was really at. And from that moment on, I decided things needed to change. So I was sitting in my college library, like the end of my senior year of college, and thinking like, I need to write about this. And I remember just like staring at the screen with the blinker cursing I mean, the cursor blinking.
No, I like that one better. We're gonna go with that. That's gonna be the title of this.
Yeah. The cursor was just like blinking, and I was like this abstract knot of just emotion and experience. I knew I had something profound to share, but I didn't know where to go with it. So years of just reflecting on that and little by little writing about it, and then scrapping those drafts and going back was just this like process of reflection and figuring myself out. And I feel like that was so helpful. Just all of the writing of the book was not to transcribe the experience that I already came to. It was like part of the experience, and it was like gradually unfolding, and then it would be like this puzzle that I kept putting together and then re-putting together, and then I'd have a new puzzle and I'd put, it was just this beautiful process that I feel so recovered now and so at peace because of doing all of that work, that now I feel like I really have something to share, and now I feel like I can use words to describe it the way I wanted to that very first day that I decided to write about it, which was now like 7 years ago. So
reflecting on your journey, reflecting on where you've been, on how it was part of your therapy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it was in a sense, I mean, if you don't mind me borrowing this, it was a different kind of purgation for you.
Yeah.
So you were really letting that out and developing yourself through it. And now you're at the point where other people can benefit from it. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much. And of course, other things happened during that time. Like I met other people that inspired me, and the universe put other challenges in my path that helped. And I've been through therapy a little bit too. So all of those things help. But yeah, just I think young people, they're thrown into just making all of these decisions at once. You have to now get a career, you have to choose a college major, you have to choose who your friends are, you have to survive on your own when you've never done that before. Like we have to do all of these things when at that point in our lives, we really need to focus on who we are. We need to take that time to figure that out. So I think too many of us do that too late, and too many of us don't do it at all. So I did it after college. And I want more people to start doing that in that time where they're first transitioning from childhood to adulthood.
And it's a hell of a time to do it, but it's something else you said that I have a lot of military and ex-military friends, and it's something that you started to touch on that I've heard a lot of Marines say is embrace the suck. Is that when you're at that point, like, as again for myself as an alcoholic and other addicts, it's numbing yourself from that experience. And you said, I'm not gonna purge. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna stay in this moment. I'm gonna be in it. You're gonna let all that wash over you, with the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, and you just embrace the suck. That's what makes Marines the best fighting force in the world. Is that they want to go through the mud and the torment and the broken bones and the bruises and they want that stuff to become the best versions of themselves, the best fighting force they could be. And for you to fight those monsters within, you had to let yourself become something harder, something stronger, something better, and you realized you had all that in you the entire time. Yeah,
that's a really beautiful thing. I think there's a moment where something shifts for people who are struggling, where it's a decision and you have to say, like, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. Right. And just being, that's one of the things that I found too in trying to create some tools to give other people who might be struggling with an eating disorder or something similar. It's like deciding not to be a victim, because there's so much freedom in that decision. It's hard at first, because you have to kind of dismantle your entire belief system. If you're really deep into just blaming the world and other people on what you're going through, but it's so liberating, and all of your power comes from not being a victim and taking responsibility for your life. No matter what background you come from, you have to do that. Like, every person has to take responsibility for their own happiness. Take responsibility for your own happiness. Yeah. All right. This could keep going. Yes. This could absolutely keep going, and I'm trying to keep everything in a certain time frame. So I'm going to cut this off here. We're going to do this again. I have to. My friend has a lot to offer, so I want everybody to go over, check out our channel. There will be links below. Check out our Facebook, Instagram. What else are you on? I'm going to be on Twitter soon, but that's everything for now. Okay. And I also just want to say to your audience that I will be interviewing Matt here on my channel, which will be linked below, so check out that video as well. Thank you. And thank you for a lovely interview here. All right, thanks very much. All right.
She is more than a machine. I am more than a machine. You are more than a machine. Go out and prove it to yourself. Take responsibility. Love it. Absolutely. Have yourself a wonderful day, everybody.
Bye, guys.